wrapped up in my sleeping bag, looking out the window at Aaron's house as the sun is beginning to creep over the horizon. And the trees are silhouetted black against the emerging blue sky with the fading stars up in the sky. And I think to myself how much I hate Aaron because he's got it fucking made with this fantastic house of his, this nice little piece of property tucked away out in the backwoods of South Dakota. God, I fucking hate him. I hope he dies. I hope he dies of syphilis. You piece of shit.
So it has been probably 3 years since I ate at a Perkins. Perkins used to be my favorite restaurant. They were pretty much everywhere I was going. They were good quality food, very tasty food. And it's not that the food changed. They got taken over by private equity, filed for bankruptcy multiple times, came out of bankruptcy multiple times. They couldn't find people to work from. The competency crisis, absolutely. And then I remember the last time I went to a Perkins, which, by the way, that one in Rapid City closed last week. I drove past it. I said, where's this sign? Oh, Doobie Dabby, all the fat pigs that they hired that couldn't do their fucking job right. Where'd it go? Where'd it go, man? It was there and poof, the next day it was gone. And the last experience I had at Perkins was going to that one. And I walk in, they're in the middle of cleaning, which is fine. Of course, an ugly, unattractive woman who was hosting. Oh, it's all we could find. I know. I'm sympathizing with you. It's just I'd like to see a young lady. I'm done with the fat people. I'm done with the negative like ugly architecture. I'm done with the negative externality of fat people. And the manager looks at me. It's a guy. I gotta imagine he's the manager. He's like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Some French silk fucking pie." I didn't say that. And I just turned out and walked out. This is after the incidents when I went to the same Perkins. And by the way, I don't know if you know this about Perkins or not. Back when they were competent, the favorite thing I liked about Perkins was the French silk pie. That was kind of their flagship product. They were known for the pies, and the best one, in my opinion, was the French silk pie. Time before I went there, they didn't have the French silk pie. It's like, it's my cheat day. And you don't have French silk. It was the time that Sonic ran out of ice cream. Some of you were telling me that McDonald's ran out of burgers one time. What are you, a dating app? You offer a product and there's no dates? What? Guess what? I'm not joking. Perkins not offering French silk pie is like dating apps not offering dates. Both of you don't produce what you say you offer. Can't imagine why we're shutting down. I mean, how dumb are you? How dumb? And so, sure, Perkins was bought and sold 1 billion times over. Sure, I'm sure there's private equity groups in there. Well, riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's the girl with the fat tat? Oh, her name's Desiree, and she lives in the trailer park. Oh, that's her name. From Fastball. This was on CNBC, but CNBC, I recall you didn't like white males, Republicans, Americans, conservatives, Republicans, and we were all fit. So fuck you. And they wanted it was behind a paywall. No, it's from Fastball. Private equity investors want their money back, but it's tied up in zombie funds. Now, let me explain this. Might little explain before I just throw this at you. The purpose of a private equity fund is to find private companies, not publicly traded companies like IBM, where you buy their shares on the stock market. Private companies like Perkins, restaurants, gas stations, dental offices, oil change shops, right? Anything that is privately held. Right? It is not a publicly traded firm. And the whole idea behind private equity is that we could come in as a private equity group, private equity funds. We have some very smart consultants. And we can not only improve how you manage your oil change shop, even though we're a bunch of pansy-ass pussies with our Harvard MBAs and we never did real work like that. We can figure things out to make it more profitable. And we have access to financing, which we could help you expand, right? So a private equity group would find a private company. They would buy, no different than flipping a house, right? It's no different than flipping a house. It's just a company. They go in, they're going to fix it up, they're going to turn around, they're going to sell it for a profit, right? That's what they're going to do. And maybe keep a little bit of a percentage down the road for future cash flow generating purposes. But that's the whole idea. You take something that, yeah, this needs a fresh coat of paint, some modernizing. Do you remember how all your restaurants you really enjoyed in the 90s all modernized in the late aughts and the teens, and now they're all gone? We need new carpet. Why can't you just keep making them? So that's what they're supposed to do, right? And there was some call for that. The public markets were flooded with a ton of money where people were just buying out publicly traded firms. The private companies, not so much. So you could pick up a company about 35% cheaper if you look at a publicly traded firm versus a privately traded firm. You could pick them up a little bit cheaper, and they were profitable. And some of these private equity firms 10 years ago actually did improve the house, flip it, and sell it for a profit. But what ended up happening is it opened the floodgates to a bunch of entrepreneur dude bros who again, Harvard MBAs, McKinsey consultants who never got their hands dirty. We know how to run an auto mechanic shop. And they bought a bunch of companies, and their only strategy they know, and this is what you more modernly know as private equity, is their goal was to temporarily make it look like the company was doing better. Not actually make it do better, temporarily make it look like it's doing better. And the way they did that was by increasing prices and cutting costs. Cutting costs so much that the quality of the product or service went down, like Perkins, that long term, nobody wanted to buy the product anymore. So it was a real quick bait and switch. You go buy a company. Not through any tangible hard work or investment do you actually improve or reorganize the company to make it more long-term immediately and long-term more profitable. All they did was cut expenses, knowing or hoping that their current customer base would continue to buy the next 2 or 3 quarters, which meant their expenses went down. People kept paying for the product that it was before. The quality of the product went down, but they had a good 2 quarters before anyone would start leaving. And in those 2 quarters, say, look how much profits went up by. We're going to turn around and sell it either to a even dumber private equity firm or a hedge fund or a mutual fund or some investor or maybe even perhaps a publicly traded firm. They would essentially cut expenses, sometimes manipulate, it's called window dressing. They make some accounting method changes to make it look like it's more profitable on paper. They will say, look, profits are up 25%, bro. You want to buy from us, bro? And some people did, until they realized a year or two later that all their clients were gone. No one is shopping there anymore because private equity bros today only know how to cut costs and cut quality. They do not know how to streamline and operate a business. And so what people who ended up buying these companies, these assets from these private equity firms, when they went in to turn it around, flip it, now they got a company that has a dying customer base that no longer wants it with high company turnover. And a lot, this is why, what was it? 40% of the companies that went bankrupt last year were private equity owned. Because you gutted them. All you did was gut them. You did not have the ability to make them leaner, meaner, and faster and better and more profitable. You just knew how to flip, bro. Just like someone who comes in, buys a fixer-upper, doesn't fix the plumbing, doesn't fix the foundation issues, puts a new coat of paint on it, and then sells it to you for a 50% markup. And you're dumb enough to buy it. But they did absolutely nothing to fix the roof or the gas or the furnace or anything important. They just put a coat of paint on it. That was it. And jacked up the price. Now, a lot of you have noticed this, especially in the restaurant industry, when you go out to eat. For example, P.F. Chang's. It had been over 10 years since I've been to a P.F. Chang's. I remember being very high quality Chinese food. I went to it last year. It's absolute shit. But I looked it up. Sure enough, bought out by private equity. And just like the housing bubble or the dot-com bubble or any other essentially scam, no matter how well-intended or how legal it is to do such things, it inevitably ends and catches up to you because you're not producing anything of value. And that's like 85, 90% of finance bros. They are scared little bitches who are deathly afraid of manual labor, of real work. And they have no problems like Bernie Madoff scamming you legally or outright illegally. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. In order for the corpo bros or for your private equity bros to make money, they got it. Now, by the way, they don't use their own money. None of these people actually work for a living. They all borrow the money. That's a different discussion. But let's say they got their money, right? That was either given to them by dad, very common, or lent to them by a stupid bank. To you bankers, I gotta wonder, like, how dumb are you? Anyway, so they have their money. Set the air quotes aside for now. The corporate bros, the private equity bros have their money. They go and buy a company. And the whole idea is to flip it around. It's an exit strategy. That is every venture capital group, that's every short-term, every angel investor. They're going to give you money now, but they want an exit plan because they need to get their money back. They don't want to sit there with this asset on their hand. They don't, Harvard MBAs don't know what it's like to run a grease monkey. Yale MBAs don't know what it's like to run a burger joint. None of these people have any real world experience. They're just sucking their dad's dick and getting money out of them. That's it. 47-year-old guy over in Connecticut sucking on, whose tit are you sucking on? My mom's, because I need more money. That's what they are. They want to get in and get out as quickly as possible. But what happens if the gig is up? What happens if the market now realizes you private equity bros lie, you manipulate, and your entire strategy is to cut costs by cutting quality, and you have ruined nearly everything you touched? So bad, and it's not like you went in and fixed, you didn't even put a coat of paint on it. You went in there and you shat on the floor and you smeared your feces on the wall, and then now you're trying to sell it again. Like, oh, your reputation is shit. You have been known to destroy businesses or at least lessen them. And so now you're like, hey, we got. So now here's where we got to ask, well, where'd the money come from? These people don't use their own money. They borrow it like every small dick corpo bro does. By the way, ladies, no, that rich banker does not have that much money. That's other people's money, but I don't want to bore you with concepts like net equity. So the private equity investors have their own investors that lent them the money, and they say, where's our money? Or they invest like a mutual fund. They actually give you money and say, where's our money? And the private equity bro is like, bro, just wait for a second, bro. I know, bro, but EBITDA up, bro. The EBITDA's up, the EBITDA. All that matters is EBITDA. What about the Federal Trade Commission lawsuit against you? Bro, that's like a small little, and then you get the words. And so now it looks like, because so many private equity bros are so bad at running businesses, they can't even flip a business, let alone run it. The original investors who gave these private equity bros their money say, where's our money? And now these bros can't even liquidate the companies because the reputation is so bad. No one wants to buy a private equity owned company, right? If there was a car, like let's say you're on the car lot, right? It's a used car lot, and you're in the market for a car. And you look at the car there and you ask the car dealer guy, say, well, who owned that before? Oh, that was owned by Herman. Who's Herman? Oh, he's this old retired Vietnam vet. And he just drove it that's why it's got so many low miles. He used to be a mechanic at the Air Force, and he drove it to and fro. And, that was about it, just groceries and church. You got the exact same car, different car, though, the same model. All that. What car is that? Oh, that car, that's the same car. Who owned it? Oh, a 21-year-old sociology major. The type that don't know that you got to change the oil. Yeah, we got it in, and she hadn't done an oil change of 20,000 miles. And she didn't know about struts or changing tires or air filters. Which car are you going to go with? See, because a private equity owned company is like a used car that was previously owned by a 21-year-old. Sorry, female. I've never heard a man say, what do you mean oil changes? Sorry, ladies. A 21-year-old female sociology major. I don't know. The car just goes. Oh, fuck no. I don't want to buy that. I don't want to buy that. You made it worse. And so now it looks like there's a little bit of what they call liquidity problems, meaning not hedge funds. Private equity funds are unable to unload the assets they bought to pay back the investors that lent them the money or gave them the money to begin with. So here it is, fastball. Private equity firms are struggling to sell the companies they own, and that's locking investors' money in with aging funds with no clear exit in sight. After years of a booming, keep in mind when they go up to investors and say, hey, you want to invest in this private equity fund? They're not saying like, hey, do you want to invest this in 30 years and with an 11% rate of return and the power of compounding have an adequate amount of money to retire with? No, like, bro, 40% in 2 years, bro. So these people weren't expecting their funds to be locked up this long. They're expecting to make their quick money, their 40% in a year and a half, 2 years, and be gone. On to the next 40%, brah. Small penis. By the way, I don't actually know if these men have small penises. I just want to, what I should say is they're not real men. They're no different than parasites, the welfare parasites. They're not as cool as they think they are. They're not real. Real men don't live off of other people. I know it's really boring, ladies. I know you really like the drug dealers and their equally criminal finance bros, but I know they're really, but yeah, oh my God, did you know the drug dealer went to jail and wasn't saving his money adequately? Oh my God, did you know the finance bro, everything I guess was owned on debt. It was all on credit. He didn't have a penny to his name. Shock. So I had all that time to frost the tips of his hair. You guys remember that? Frosted the tips of the hair. Do you guys remember that? That was cool in 2002. And that's locking investors' money in aging funds with no clear exit in sight. After years of booming deal activity following the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2009. Yeah, and prices were cheap back then, too. The private equity industry is now in a holding pattern. Oh, no, bro. Managers are sitting on a growing number of unsold companies with delayed exits because you literally shit on the companies. You pay $1,000 for a company, you shit on it, and then you try to sell it to someone else for $2,000. That's it. There was a very well-written article by a guy at Morgan Stanley, and he went over this, but it was too technical. I like to think I could translate into normal people. That's what's happening. Private equity bros went in there, paid $1,000 for mom, pop, kettles, whatever, truck shop. Then they shat out their pampered blue blood shit on the car truck shop and they smeared it all around. And now they're trying to sell it to some dopey sucker for $2,000. But it's got my shit on it, bro. That's the magic dick suck, bro. Don't you know who my dad is? Private equity firms typically sell their portfolio companies through various exit routes, such as trade sales or strategic buyers, secondary sales to other private equity firms, and public listings via initial public offerings, allowing them to return capital and profits to limited partners who are private equity fund investors. They're investors. However, private equity firms are buying and investing in more companies than they can offload them, which means investors are trapped in aging funds or waiting longer for their returns. The ratio of private equity investments to exits has jumped 2.6 times in 2024 to 3.4. Okay, so it hasn't jumped 2.6 times. It jumped from, okay, the ratio of investments to exits. Okay, how many investments are sitting on their portfolio versus how many they got rid of, jumped from 2.6 times in 2024 to 3.14 in 2025, the highest in a decade. So that's a third of an increase in 1 year. As firms continue to delay sales, recent data from PitchBook showed this means that for every company PE firms manage to sell, it is buying out about 3 new ones. Maybe you should stop. You don't know what you're doing. I know. Look, and here's what it basically boils down to. They're not doing it for money, right? It's like teachers. They don't go into school for the kids. They ironically go in for the money and for the 3 months a year off. Ironically, private equity bros don't go into this for the money. They go into it for the status and the bragging rights. Like, private equity is shit. It should be like ambulance chasing lawyer. But it sounds so cool, and hot girls think it sounds so cool. It maintains the status like hedge fund manager or banker. Bankers are scum. They're low IQ fuckwits. They're very poor. They don't have money. Some do, most don't. And so you would think these private equity guys are going in for the money. No, they're going in for the status. They're going to say, I'm a private equity fund manager, bro. And they are so committed to, they so desperately want the status. They don't care how many companies they ruin that the American people used to enjoy. They don't care how much they are lowering your standards of living, right? Super Lube, which doesn't exist anymore, got bought out by private equity. All right. And I think they were owned by private equity at one time. They didn't put the oil plug back into my oil pan all the way, and it was leaking all over the place. Good thing I caught it, because there inevitably would not be any oil in the engine. I'd destroy my engine, right? These corpo bros don't care. Private equity bros, they are psycho. They are sociopaths, psychopaths. They don't care. As long as they get to live their day. Liberal white women who vote Democrat, they don't care if the whole country gets destroyed. As long as they can feel good about taking other people's money and helping out randos that they'll never meet. Well, I don't have to meet those randos. As long as they don't have to live in crime, as long as they can live in their gated communities, living off of their husband's money or whatever, they don't care how much it ruins the nation and makes it harder for you to find jobs. They value how they feel being charitable with other people's money more than they value you or any other American person. These people are ultimately solipsistic. They do not care. Hey, we ruined P.F. Chang's. Hey, we ruined Perkins. Hey, we are ruining people's car engines because we don't train enough, or we hire idiots to do oil changes. They don't care, because all they want to say is private equity, bro. Which is ultimate. Like, if you really want to be serious about being wealthy, you would do it Warren Buffett. You would work hard. That is not finance. The finance industry is all arbitrage. I'm going to take money from other people that isn't mine, and then borrow other people's money that isn't mine. I'm going to bet. And then if I make a profit, cool, I'm awesome. And then if I fail, oh, it isn't. And then you go into obscurity, and then you redesign yourself as a consultant 10 years on after a jail sentence. You know who you are, buddy. There's this fucking scumbag who got out of jail. And it's sad. It's a boomer who's now a consultant. They don't care how bad they make your experience. They don't care that they ruined your childhood restaurants. They don't care that the product doesn't work. They don't care. They just want to play make-believe high finance corporate bro. And that's the number one thing. And then if they go belly up and bankrupt, they'll disappear. They'll become realtors or whatever other fucking washed up industry has you after that. No offense to my friend Craig Cameron. But yeah, what have you thought about not buying companies? Have you thought about just holding off? Have you thought that maybe private equity is bought up enough and there isn't enough meat left on the bone? Have you thought that maybe it's over and you should go get a real job or find the newest scam? Private equity funds typically have a finite duration of 10 years. This means investors need to get their money back after 10 years, but that's not happening, said Jeff Hokey, adjunct instructor at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. Now the funds are going out 15, 16 years, and the investors are getting impatient. Well, you might as well have invested in the S&P 500. Oh, by the way, none of you are getting all your money back. Not all of it. See, you can cut costs aggressively for about 2 quarters, maybe a year. You can window dress and post up improved financials for a year. But once you shit over the product and you start losing your dedicated customer base, it's over. It's over. You can't recover from dwindling sales because you shittified your product so much. And then that puts all these private equity bros, once you make it past a year, you're not getting your money back in full. The company, everyone knows the company's gone to shit. People don't go to Hooters anymore. The girls got fat. The food went to shit. It's over. Heck, you see that with a lot of those former online media companies like BuzzFeed and Vice and all that. Didn't you pay like $1.2 billion for it and now no one wants it? Nobody wants your fucking shit. If your entire goal is window dress, that's your entire strategy. Cut cost, bro. You will destroy the company. And so if you're like 3, 4, 5, let alone year 15, 16, 17, 18, no. No. You could view it this way. If the customers aren't going to buy from the company anymore, then investors aren't going to buy the company, period. I'm never eating at P.F. Chang's again. Fuck you, people. Wow. Couldn't tell that you just went with the cheap food option. Oh, hey, great. The only thing you got is a bar because like, okay, I see that's a bottle of Lefroy 10. Although I wouldn't doubt it if the equity bros started coming in, hey, water down the drinks, bro. Fuck you. So now you can't find anyone to buy. Oh, and you don't have low interest rates, which puts life on easy mode for all you finance bros, huh? Oh. So you can't find anyone to buy these companies that you turned to shit. Now you do have to manage them. Now the funds are going to spend 15 to 16 years out. They want their money back, said the professor who worked for more than 30 years as an investment banker and private investment executive. Subtitle, Zombie Funds. The slowdown has a side effect, the rise of zombie funds, private equity vehicles that exist but have little hope of fully exiting their investments or raising new capital. Not to mention, if these start accumulating, you're going to have a flood of supply of companies, private companies that investors just probably don't want to buy. They're brilliant, bro. According to Collar Capital, zombie funds are funds that are not able to realize their investments or raise successor funds, yet still collect fees from their LPs, limited partnerships. Oh, so you guys collect annual fees from your investors. You don't give the money back, but you collect fees from them. A zombie fund is one of those funds that might still have 4 or 5 companies they can't sell. So the fund is just kind of hanging around, Hook said. Managers may have moved on to new vehicles while continuing to babysit a handful of aging assets. Oh, that's great, having lackadaisical ownership. It's not moving forward. It's not moving backwards. It's just sort of there. Yeah, meanwhile, your collateral decays. It deteriorates. dude, what's going to happen? It's no different than when I was in Bacon. You're going to be sitting on this decaying collateral, these decaying assets. Somebody's going to come in and say, wow, this place is a shithole. I'll give you 10 cents on the dollar for your assets. Dude, how many? Hang on. How many private equity firms went bankrupt? I'm just kind of curious. 110 went bankrupts, account for 16% of the total bankruptcies in 2024. Oh, you incompetent fuckwits. You can't do anything right. You're so inferior. But the growing number of private equity investors are seeing their capital locked in so-called zombie funds. A 2024 survey by Secondary Assets Managers showed nearly half of the institutional investors surveyed, including pension funds and insurers, said they were already exposed to funds with little chance of exiting investments or raising new capital. You took Grandma Tilly's pension fund and invested in private equity, bro. Hey, you want to buy some mortgage-backed securities in 2007? For you young people, the adults, I don't care how many suits they're wearing or they're downtown, they got a private jet. It's all borrowed. None of these people know what they're doing. The adults do not know what they're doing. This is the second time in the last 5 years or so that the exit environment has been in this wait-and-see mode, said Kyle Walters, a private equity analyst at PitchBook. Limited partnerships were much more understanding that first time around, but this time you see fewer patient limited partners. He told CNBC, adding that limited partners are opting to sell off portions of private equity portfolios to secondary funds as they opt for cash rather than wait further. According to PitchBook, 55% of all active private equity funds globally are now 6 years or older, higher than the 52.2 at the end of 2024. Oh no, bro. People don't want to buy your feces-ridden companies. Oh no. Better call daddy. For portfolio companies in the U.S., at least the median age of active private equity backed for portfolios is 3.8 years, the highest level since 2011. What's behind the exit freeze? The exit slowdown began as early as 2022, but accelerated after April 2nd when the Trump administration announced sweeping reciprocal tariffs that jolted financial markets, market watchers said. The uncertainty that followed created a murky outlook for buyers and sellers alike. The drought in exits really took shape post-Liberation Day, Walters. What's Liberation Day? The policy-making volatility has left many private equity firms in a wait-and-see mode, looking for greater clarity before bringing... Dude, you can't blame this on Trump. It's been 6 months since he's been inaugurated. I understand that the tariffs had an effect on stock prices. But don't say everything was rosy 7 months ago. Now, oh my God, 6 months later. Harold Hope, a global head of secondary investments at Goldman Sachs Alternatives, said the core issue is a valuation gap between what private equity managers think their companies are worth and what potential buyers are willing to pay. Yep. No, I don't want your diarrhea, Thaddeus. I don't care that you went to Vassar. While very high-quality companies may still demand premium prices, many other companies are subject to this valuation gap. Buyers and sellers are not seeing eye to eye, he said, explaining that the trend began after 2021 when buyers became more conservative as interest rates rose, among other factors. Like, yeah, you don't make no fucking money. Seriously, I don't care what it is. If a private equity firm wants to sell you a company, go to the companies they own and see what the experience is like. Is it some fat pig who's like, and then the dopey manager like, what do you want? French silk pie. Probably not getting your money back. With a lack of strategic buyers, the debt IPO market here, especially in the United States, firms are left with the third alternative, which is selling to themselves via a continuation fund. Oh my God. Or selling to other private equity funds, Hook said. It may never see the IPO market or strategic buyer for, 15 to 20 years. Or are you just liquidating all your assets? You are so fucked, right? I haven't analyzed the market or the industry, but if someone were to pay me back in the day, hey, like, why don't you go look at the fundamentals? Why don't you go boots on the ground, look at their assets? I'm going to guess you're all just so fucked. Which you deserve to be fucked because you lowered our standard of living. You arrogant little needle, mosquito bite, dick tits, dude bros, and girl bosses. Those via general partners who are the people or firms managing the private equity funds are looking to alternative liquidity strategy. For one thing, continuation funds have grown increasingly popular in recent years. Those vehicles allow firms to sell a portfolio company to a new fund they also manage. You're selling it to yourselves, giving existing limited partners the choice to cash out or roll over the stake. Goldman Sachs Hope noted that continuation vehicles provide a way to generate liquidity in an environment when the fund manager may or may not or can't sell the entire business at a value that they believe is appropriate, he said. But while the continuation funds remain an option, limited partners are also growing more impatient, unwilling to participate or accommodate, said Bill Matthews, co-founder of Braddock Matthews, not Braddock Matthews Barrett. Particular areas, general partners regularly extend investment periods. The exit drought has also led some private equity managers, especially smaller mid-sized firms, to explore alternative strategies, including allocating more towards public market. Rolling up and constantly putting equity into larger and larger deals is not something that we find relatively attractive going forward. Have you thought about managing the company well? Have you thought about buying firms that actually have potential to be improved instead of make-believe needle dick man? It's an unsustainable practice, especially with business owners wanting to eventually pull out the equity and actually have it as cash. Instead, Hahn is leaning into the public market opportunity, adding that the firm has launched a new public equities funds because of the recent ramping up of activity within the space. What time is it? He also observed that private equities firms' sheen may be starting to wear off. No. Do you still poof your bangs? Noting that some investors are asking themselves, why would I go into the private markets when I could get the same or better returns in public markets and have better liquidity? Are the authors of this article unaware of just how scummy private equity people, like, it's all a scam, and now they're shocked, like, I can't believe a scam isn't working anymore. It's the smaller mid-sized market firms that are more exposed. They rely on those deals to cash. For cash, Hahn added, if you can't close, that means it's a tough conversation with your investor. But despite the turbulence, capital is still flowing into private equity. Unlike exit activity, which has slowed, deal activity remains healthy. No, not when you're buying overpriced assets, especially those you have no intention of turning around. Fueled by a still sizable $1.6 trillion in global dry powder, PitchBook's Walters said. Well, that's thankfully dry powder. Hopefully you guys get a little more sensible and start buying companies that might actually benefit from your ownership. Oh, but that's not the main reason, right? You got to play make-believe big dick in Connecticut. There's some slowdown in the money that's being raised, Hook acknowledged, but still tens and, well, hundreds of billions. Oh, and that just ends right there. I like how you're all lying to yourselves. I like how you think that you're all smart enough to go buy. I love we're serious investors. We're serious private equity. We're very serious. Very serious. Oh, shit, we can't sell our crap. Oh, we're going to create funds of funds to buy our funds from the other people's funds. And then we're going to go public. No. The market is flooded. Okay? Right? Interest rates are up. All right? You haven't provided the returns, and most of you are so bad at your job because all you know how to do is cut costs and quality, bro, and flip and window dress. You have ruined the reputation of private equity firms, and now people are going away. Bye-bye. There will always be these assholes buying a private company. There always will be. But right now, it's so bad. Now, by the way, just because these companies go bankrupt, don't think that all of a sudden Pizza Hut's going to get its shit together. Although I think Pizza Hut's owned by PepsiCo. Or was it Yum Brands? You know, I would not hold your breath for Perkins to start serving French silk pie again with reasonably attractive people. I would not hold your breath for PF Chang's to have their Chinese food be higher quality again. But I did want to show you that these private equity bros, they are going bankrupt. Oh, they're going to kick the can down and extend and pretend and do standard small dick banker maneuvers. But at the end of the day, their funds, these guys are fucked. They are fucked. And slowly, but what's going to happen is you're going to have new companies come around and fix things, just replace them. Kind of like Chick-fil-A will come by and replace KFC. Buc-ee's, which is competently managed, will replace the other franchise, Sinclair gas station, which is the worst gas station. But it'll be a while before you start seeing companies providing a good service at a fair price. And isn't some dick schlong private equity bro like, oh yeah, we can, like, we were looking for a bench, right? I just wanted a bench with some metal ornamentation in the center. We found one. But then on the reviews it says, oh yeah, that metal ornamentation is plastic. I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you. No. Mark Magana, $2. Bob Evans sucks since private equity took it over. Yeah, that's the Southern Perkins. Put this there. Dry Raven, $2. If you miss Perkins, try Black Bear Diner. Oh yeah, I have. They got a lot in Vegas and up in Utah. I have been there. They're good. They are very solid. Couch Marine, $5. I think this is why private equity firms become so obsessed with DEI. It was the linguistic code of paint to flip. Oh yeah, sure. ESG, DEI, leveraging synergies, AI. That we're gonna implement AI. We're gonna cut costs, and you just make it shittier. That's it. That's all you do. Ken Rose, he says hi for $5. Hello, Ken. Aaron Purdue, new guy, but regular for Asshole Consulting. 10 generous dollars. The transcript to Idiocracy will be added to the Old Testament of the Bible as the book of Mike Judge. It is where we are headed. Therefore, it is prophecy. It is. It really is. I'm okay. Look, people aren't going to Perkins anymore. It takes a while. It took men a while to figure out that marriage is a bad deal, but now ain't no guy getting married. It's going to take a while to realize that movies are shit, restaurants are shit, and it's not worth doing it. And then maybe there'll be a good restaurant. Maybe there'll be a small mom pa shop. But yeah, right now it's over for these guys. It is. Those numbers I forecast as an economist are only going to get worse. Ken Rose, $5. Correct me if I'm wrong for thinking this, Cappy. The way private equities are structured and how they monopolize, I'm surprised it's even legal. I don't know if they monopolize. You'd have to show me where they're buying an entire industry and acting in cohesion with one another. How they finance themselves is their limited partners lend them money or give them money. They have to pay back. And the limited partners, they borrow money from other funds that are dedicated to create funding for private equity funds. Not a single penny of their own money is invested in these things. Jonas DG, €8.92. Private equity facilities pump and dump scale. Exactly. A very short, quick way of explaining it. And there's Mark's. We already got him. All right, that's it. Cappy's got to go flip the ribs. Smoking stuff today. I'll see you guys later. Link below is a book called Bachelor Pad Economics. If you want to be wealthier than a private equity bro, well, if you got a nickel, you're wealthier. Get Bachelor Pad Economics. Follow that. You'll be wealthier than pretty much all the guys on Wall Street. See you later. Toodles.